Hello and welcome, everybody. My name is John, and today I want to discuss a question that I found on Reddit's r/recruiting. And the question asked is, would you recommend recruiting as a career for an ex-teacher? And I really believe these questions that the person asked would be really helpful to someone who is exploring the idea of recruiting as a career. And the questions are as follows. Would you recommend recruiting to other people? What are the pros and cons of working in the recruiting field? Is there a specific field you would or would not recommend based on your experience? How is the stress slash work-life balance as a recruiter? And what is the career ladder like for a person who actually goes into recruiting? I'm going to break these questions down one by one, and hopefully at the end of it, it's answered a few of your questions and you've learned something that you can use. And also to give you a head start on your search, I'm going to list out the companies that I know have reached out to me for recruiting jobs and places I've worked. So go into the description, you will see the companies that are hiring right now and have hired in the past for recruiters. And with that, let's begin. Question number one. Would you recommend recruiting to other people? The safest answer, and it will sound like a cop-out, and I guess it is, it depends. Each person is different. I can say that recruiting is not an easy job. It's not a glamorous job, but stick with it, and it can be a lucrative job. Being someone new who is looking at coming into recruiting for the first time, more than likely you're going to start out in what is called agency recruiting. And that's where most all of us recruiters have started. If you ask anybody where they started, more than likely it was at an agent. Just know that when you start as a recruiter, especially in agency recruiting, the business is really competitive. I would call it hyper competitive. And that competition can lead to different stressors, excitement, which is going to lead right into the next question. Question number two. What are the pros and what are the cons of working in recruiting? I am going to start with the pros because I always believe in starting with the good stuff first. The very first thing is recruiting can be extremely lucrative. It can be very lucrative. There are people in this business on the extreme end who are just really, really excellent at what they do, and they are making in the hundreds of thousands up to, I've heard of, in the millions of dollars as recruiters. Now, that's the high end. That's an extreme end. Don't go into recruiting thinking that's ultimately what you're going to be. Another pro, you will definitely 100% learn soft skills. I'm talking attention to detail, communication, time management, persistence. You will ultimately become a better, more efficient person in this career because you absolutely have to be. You will develop a massive network. You're going to make so many contacts. I mean, a lot of contacts. In this role, you will talk to more people than you've ever dreamed of talking to before. And a really massive pro for me specifically is the ability to help people. Like I once helped a guy go from living in the backseat of his car to making a $90,000 a year job. And that kind of help reward, I don't know the exact way to put it, so my words are failing me right now, but it is so amazing to be in a position to help someone like that. Now, let's talk about the cons. One of the biggest cons in this business, at least according to me, is the human element. You never know what a candidate is going to do or say. You do not know if they're going to back out of a written offer. You have no idea if a hiring manager is going to cancel a rec after you've done all of the work to get someone into their company. Meaning that all of your hard work and your results can be very much out of your control. Another thing, especially for new recruiters, and I really hammer this home to people who are looking at going into recruiting, is the inconsistent hours. You may find yourself working 8 hours one day, 15 hours another, 3 hours this morning, maybe 4 or 5 in the afternoon. It'll be all over the place depending on the job that you are recruiting and the people that you are recruiting. So to give you an example, I worked at an agency where we were at work from 7:30 in the morning till 5:30 at night. That's a 10-hour day, but that's the times we were supposed to be there. Oftentimes, I knew people in the office who stayed longer. I've worked in corporate where the hours were like your standard work day that you think of, 8 to 5, but being in this business, means putting in extra work and extra time because speed is the name of the game. You've got to get the people into the roles before someone else does, because if they get them or you do, that looks bad on you. And thus what I was talking about earlier with the competition. And speaking of competition, as I was just talking about, you're not only competing with other agencies and people trying to fill the same roles as you, you're also competing with, look to your left, look to your right, your coworkers, especially if you are all in the same vertical. They want to fill the rec as much as you want to fill that rec. So understand that the competition beyond just the agency is also in-house. It can be very lonely at times. So go into the business knowing that. And as I mentioned earlier with the human element and the competition, winning, i.e. getting someone to start their job, is really hard. And you may lose even though you went through the vetting process, initial contacts, assessments, networking, setting up interviews. And it's a lot of work to come up with nothing. You have to be okay with that kind of thing happening, because it will happen, and it will happen often. In this business, you have to have a very short memory. It's on to the next thing all the time. Another con, and this is a really big con for a lot of people, especially for those who are looking specifically for stability, is the variable salary of the recruiting business. In agency, or if you're running your own business, your paycheck will swing high and low depending on the month, the, the moon, the stars, everything, because you will have days or weeks where you are just filling recs and they're coming in. And there will be days and weeks where it is a desert. You have no idea what's going to happen. And those times are frightening. So yeah, it can be very inconsistent. Question number 3. Is there a specific field you would recommend or not recommend to go into for recruiting? As for an answer, I am always going to recommend technical recruiting. That is my expertise. It's what I know. And the kind of roles that I fill as a technical recruiter are software development, networking, business analysts, project managers, positions like that. As for other types of recruiting, I know there's medical recruiting, there's executive recruiting, staffing agencies, which is a little bit different. But there are a lot of different options, and I would say explore what's out there to see if you feel like one of those fields is more of a fit for you. Question number 4. How is the stress/work-life balance of a recruiter? I usually answer it by saying initially it's going to suck. That's usually the case for about a year or two. You're new. You don't have the contacts. You don't have the pipeline of people. You don't have people already working who are generating you money. So that takes time, usually a year or two. And if you survive by year 2 in this business, you're pretty well set. But if you want to be successful initially, it's going to require a lot of sacrifice on your part, especially with your time, because you do have to build the pipeline. You do have to build those connections and network, and you do have to get those people in the door. And that's not easy initially. However, once you get past all of that and you get down the road in this business, the stress is not nearly as a feeling of being so insurmountable. You do get over the hump, and you become an expert in the business itself. So all the tricks of the trade, you know what to expect. You know how to do a plan A, plan B, contingencies, all kinds of stuff. So yes, initially it sucks. Long term, in my opinion, it doesn't. I love what I. Question number 5. What does the career ladder of recruiting look like? That can go in a whole bunch of different ways depending on what your expectations are and what you want. Some people, they love the sales aspect of recruiting, and they will go into the sales side of the house, which is usually called account manager or sales manager, depending on what agency or firm you're in. So that's going out and generating business, so getting the jobs so recruiters can recruit. Other people want to go into the managerial side, the corporate side, operations side. So you got HR, you got directors, business directors, office directors, managers, things like that. So you can go all the way up the sales side, you can go up the operations side. It just really depends on what your cup of tea is. And with that, I hope that answers some of the questions you have about becoming a recruiter and what the expectations are. As I say, it's going to be hard at first, but it gets easier over time because you just get used to it more than anything. All the pitfalls are always going to be there. You just become knowledgeable of what to expect. And also, to help you in your journey, as I said earlier in the video, down below in the description is going to be a couple of links to different jobs that have reached out to me looking for a new recruiter, and places I've worked at before, and other companies that I know that specifically hire recruiters. Hopefully this has helped you. Hopefully those links get you started on your journey. Please comment down below what your experiences have been getting into recruiting, or any questions you have about recruiting. I am excited to answer these and go on this journey with you. Like and subscribe for more. I look forward to talking to you all again. And until then, I hope you have a great day.